Hey everybody, welcome back. CALLOUS Draft League Week 6. We've got Zokuru and Witchgender. As always, a link to their draft in the description. So, Zokuru and Green Team doesn't really need this win. They need to not get 10-0 swept this week, but with just a couple of wins, they will secure their playoff bye, which is obviously a big advantage. And they're obviously not going to get booted from playoffs. They're going to be there either way, but the bye is basically locked up as well. They've been the dominant team wire to wire in this tournament. It means way, way more to the opposition, the blue team, as represented in this match by Witchgender, because they are very much in the playoff hunt and can get there. But in order to get there, they need to beat out the pink and the purple team. So the best result for them is that pink and purple go roughly even, 5-5, 6-4, something like that. And that blue really lays the smackdown on the green team. That's what they need to happen for them to get into playoffs. Unfortunately, with the way that the pairings fell, just by dumb coincidence, it is two of the weaker players on blue team against probably the two strongest players, or at least two of the strongest players, on the green team. So Witchgender here is going to need to heroically pull off the upset against Zokuru, and it's best of one, and I think that Witchgender had the better draft. So stranger things can happen and have happened, but it's the play and the building where Zokuru has the biggest advantage, and that's why I ultimately predicted him to win. I think that hurdle is going to be very challenging for Witchgender to overcome, but this is her shot, and she will be a hero to her team if she's able to pull this off. So let's see if she can do it. Here is game 1 out of 1. Zokuru on the bottom and Witchgender on the top. They're both going to stay in. They're both going to quick Toxic. Fair enough. Regice might have rest, but it's really unlikely that Jolteon does. However, there's your answer. There's why. Miltank probably just has Heal Bell, and it takes the Ice Beam just fine thanks to Thick Fat. Doesn't go for Heal Bell, though, which I think I would have. It's just Return, actually, which obviously bounces off the Scarm. And she Heal Bells now, but if she had just Heal Belled immediately, then she wouldn't have this free layer of spikes coming down, but we'll see how she responds to it. She's going to get her Jolteon re-toxicked, which, again, we know she has Heal Bell, so maybe she could make that go away later. But for now, she's going to have to deal with it. That T-Bolt was aimed at Scarm. It's going to connect with Regice instead. Just 48%, which is a pretty big chunk, with a critical hit. And now Miltank reappears, and all of that is for naught, as the Regice, of course, does just have rest. But she declines to click Heal Bell here, instead opting for Claydol, which is also going to find itself toxicked. But that also has the benefit of the Miltank partner to Heal Bell it away. So it probably is not Refreshed All. That seems kind of like a weird choice if you've already got a Heal Bell Miltank. And ironically, after Heal Belling, the Miltank itself gets hit with Toxic. Well, so far Zokuru has been winning with just 2 pokes and hasn't needed to show anything else. Witchgender is going to try a different poke and a different approach to try to break this loop. She's going to go to the Ments, and that is quite unlucky. I don't blame her for going to Ments there. I would not have played around Sleep Talk Regice, but not only does it have a very uncommon set in Rest Talk, meaning Rest Talk Toxic Ice Beam, it doesn't actually have Thunderbolt, which is weird. But weird set, for sure. I would not have played around Sleep Talk there. But also, it's only a 1 in 3 that it immediately finds Ice Beam, and it did. So that was both unexpected and unlucky for Witchgender. She loses the Ments there. And obviously, Zokuru is now ahead, but that was kind of poor RNG for Witchgender, to be sure. And a bad trade here for both. Sableye does not love Toxic unless it has Rest, which it won't. And Miltank obviously doesn't love not having lefties. Heal Bell PP is going to be a factor, though, if she keeps using them at this rate. There's only 8 of them to begin with, and she's got only half of them, only 4 of them left already. Here comes Scarm. I don't know why she keeps trying to attack things. The Scarm can just ignore this forever. And here comes the doll. And Zokuru's plan of just spamming Toxic on everything seems to be working. It feels like with a Heal Bell user and a Natural Curemon on the other side, this shouldn't be working as well as it is, but it is working. Yeah, Witchgender really hasn't made too much headway here. Not clear what the plan is for her, how she thinks she's going to gain advantage, but I mean, she has thrown Toxic on a couple of Mons, so that's more than nothing, but seems pretty clear to me that Zokuru is ahead right now, and any damage on the Milk Tank matters because it doesn't have its lefties anymore. They got knocked off. Granted, it does have Milk Drink, but there's no reason not to chip it if you have the option to do so. And as it turns out, any advantage that Witchgender might have had basically just went out the window because the Dragonite itself has Heal Belt also. So everything for Zokuru is back to healthy. I don't think anything has meaningful damage on it, whereas Witchgender is down a poke, has some stuff that's taking damage, and it's 2 layers of spikes versus 0. Now, granted, we know that she has a spinner in the Claydol, but we also know that Zokuru brought the Sableye to block the spin. So, life is hard. Zokuru might actually stay in here and just click Ice Beam. No, went back to the Sableye. I was really wanting to block Rapid Spin there. Toxic and Toxic, one of them luckier than the other. And now Celebi comes in. And now that will get hit with Toxic. Fair enough. Doubles back to Miltank and Regice, respectively. Milk Drink, maybe a little bit premature there. I thought the Miltank was somewhat healthy, but fair enough. Toxic and Toxic and Toxic. Can I get a Toxic? Come on, click Toxic. Not Toxic, just Heal Bell. Like I said, PP a factor here. She is burning through those. And Zokuru uses one as well, but he hasn't used nearly as many. He's got 5 of them left, whereas the Miltank is down to just 2. Celebi and Regice, respectively. Leech Seed, pretty annoying. Probably going to force it out. Recover, sure. Okay, I mean, hey, big Ice Beam. Critical hit would have killed Celebi there, but probably won't push this too much longer. Gets a freeze, fair enough. That'll at least prevent a recover from Celebi, which has got to count for something. Miltank again, what a surprise. And Sableye. Now back to Skarm. And she's going to go for Toxic. That seems to be the theme of the match for both players. Well, got ourselves another grind here. The only kill has been that surprise Ice Beam found via immediate Sleep Talk. Pretty lucky. And other than that, we have not had a single knockout. We are just 6-5 as we have been for a while, and not really any fast or meaningful progress happening here, but make no mistake, have no doubt about it, it's certainly Zokuru in the driver's seat right now. Not going to be an easy game from this position for Witchgender to win. Wow. And another perfect Ice Beam in its sleep. Finds it at all, which is 1 and 3, and immediately crits with it as well. Life is easy when Sleep Talk cooperates like that. Rapid Spin does get off for Witchgender, but I mean, Skarm is literally at 100%. What is to prevent it from reestablishing more layers? Answer, of course, is nothing. Reestablishes 1 layer before the Kingdra comes in and got to deal with that threat, so my Logic is going to check it. Here comes Celebi. And more Toxic. Toxic has been clicked many times in this game by both parties. Seemingly more so from Zokuru, but both of them have clicked it quite a bit. And here is Miltank yet again. 4 more Toxic. I mean, granted, it was a Sleep Talk Toxic, but it's a Toxic. And that is, I believe, the second to last Heal Bell for Witchgender. Yeah, she has only 1 left. I don't see how Witchgender is going to win this game. Feel like the answer is she is not. Maybe the Kingdra here with some good predictions, but it too is on the clock of the Toxic, just like seemingly everything else. kind of a weird protect there. If the Kingdra was going to stay in, it was going to be a rain turn. Or at least I thought it should have been a rain turn, but that's not what she clicked. And now Hydro Pump, frustratingly, is going to miss. Not that it would have done a ton to Milotic. Crit there, also obnoxious. Not that it prevents a recover. Leech Seed instead, fair enough. Opportunity to kill the Celebi had a crit come, but it didn't. Now Arcanine, and of course recover. Man, this is an awful lot like the game I narrated just before this, which was Sosa and Manchild, which is, it went like 90-something turns, and you would think that that means that they're back and forth, and it's neck and neck, and oh, what a close, compelling game. It was super duper not. It was a long, one-sided game that took longer than it needed to take probably, but the outcome was never in doubt. It was a beating, and this is reminding me quite a bit of that. We may very well end up going a little bit on the long side. I mean, we're all ready for a draft game, probably on the long side as we approach turn 80, but same shit here. We might be in the 90s or even turn 100 or whatever the case may be, but that's not because it's such an even back and forth chess match here. Quite the opposite. It feels like it has been wire to wire, Zokuru with the lead, and I'm just not seeing anything happening here that makes it seem like Zokuru is somehow going to blow this. I don't even know what that would entail at this point. I know that both Miltank and Claydol are definitely not win conditions. So Celebi somehow is going to do it here while Toxic. Doesn't even have HP Fire, so add that to the list. That is yet another Pokemon that just cannot break the Skarmory. Yeah, I mean, again, Witchgender needs to win for Blue Team. They need as many points as they can get. This matchup really matters for Blue Team, so it is absolutely 100% her prerogative to play it out. And everybody loves an underdog story. A lot of people would like to see the Blue Team give Green Team a little smackdown here and earn their way into the playoffs. All those storylines are wonderful. I'm down with all that, but I'm also obligated as the commentator here to be honest with you guys and just call it as I see it and not sugarcoat. And yeah, I just don't see a way out for Witchgender. If you just look at Zoc's team right now, everything is just so healthy. Yeah, 76% on the Regice and the Dragonite. Those are the lowest Pokemon. Everything is good to go. Zokuru, with the squad that he has, with the health that it's all at, could fight for another 200 turns if need be. That Shadow Ball with a crit, I mean, it mattered. A non-crit wouldn't have killed, but it is really, truly just speeding up the inevitable. Not trying to be negative Nancy. I am just being honest. There is no way out of this for Witchgender. And we may end up with a 3-figure game here, but the outcome is inevitable one way or another. And to be very clear, this is just one game. This does not eliminate the Blue Team from contention. But like I said, they're going to need to convincingly beat Green 7-3, 8-2, that kind of week to get themselves into playoffs. And that means they only have a little bit of leeway. There's only so many games that they can afford to not win. This is going to be one of them, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they are going to be out or that they can't make playoffs. They can just as well. They could easily win many of the other games. They could win 8 out of the next 9 or something to that effect, and that will probably land them in playoffs. But this is going to be one that they don't win. The only question here is how long does it go? Zokuru more than happy to grind it out. The self-proclaimed stall lord. Had him on my SPL team, have known him and been friends with him and worked with him for years, and I know his deal, man. He will absolutely, he has no qualms at all. He will sit here and play a Pokemon game for 2.5 hours and grind it out with you, and is totally, totally fine with that. Absolutely has the patience and the right mind and the grind to sit there and do that with you as long as you want, baby. He's not going anywhere. This one, I think, finally, and this has got to be one of the longer draft games of the tournament, 111 turns and counting, lengthier than most, but this one finally winding down here. This next turn is probably the last. Nah, Zok's just going to be a dick, and rather than kill Witchgender, just going to stall a little longer, because he can. And eventually, the poison does take her down. Like I said, not harping on Witchgender. Zok is tough to beat, but this one was a one-sided affair, and it is going to be a victory for Zokuru and the green team. But I re-emphasize, that does not mean that the blue team is eliminated. They can get many wins in the upcoming matches, and they need to make playoffs, but that is still very much something that can happen, and the score and who is or is not in playoffs is not yet settled. So, keep it here. This was probably not the most riveting ADV game you've ever watched, but just kind of part of the deal sometimes. And I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you for watching.